Hey, we're back.
We're back.
We're back with, I don't know, 5 young girls having terrible lives, banding together to try to make it in this topsy-turvy world.
Yeah.
This still screams tragedy to me. Like, I get where the paranoia comes from, but like, I can't look at this as like, oh, these 4 girls are secretly murderers. I have to read it as, oh God, these 4 girls have had the worst fucking home lives possible. I want to give them a hug and tell them it's going to be okay.
Are you picturing the Hinamizawa girls as the cast of Annie singing "It's a Hard Knock Life"?
Not like, I don't think that obnoxiously. Oh, please, sir, just, can I have a little more soup? No, but I am imagining them that, like, they've been through tough shit and probably banded together because they need to, because they don't have adults that stay around in their lives, or the adults that are in them are not, are abusive.
What do you think's Mion's deal, then?
That's kind of what I'm thinking is alluding to, is that her family she was living with was probably abusive. That's because what other altercation does a 13-year-old get themselves involved in?
Yeah.
Unless you're Greta freaking Thunberg, you're not becoming involved in a political struggle at that young of an age. You're doing that to defend yourself because you don't have much of a home yet. At least that's how I'm seeing it.
Okay.
Anyway. Yeah, like, so I get where all the paranoia and stuff is meant to come into this, and like, oh God, these 4 murderous girls. But it's really just sad. It's just the most heartbreaking thing. I wonder how much time had passed since I laid down. It was getting dark outside. I mean, it'd also give them reasons to be incredibly suspicious and avoidant of outside interference, especially with people poking their noses in, because they have a terrible history with that. They are well reasoned to be like, I don't trust outsiders. Anyway, my body was soaked in sweat. It would probably be a good idea to change my sheets. At that moment, the phone downstairs rang. It was probably Mom. Mom was quite the worrywart. Maybe she had called many times, but I just didn't notice it. Hello, this is the Maebara residence.
Oh, he's alive. Hello. This is Mion. How you doing?
Oh, hey, Mion. Oh, is this one of Keiichi's friends? Keiichi is resting now, but shall I put him on?
Wait.
No, this is Keiichi fucking around.
Huh? Is this his dad? Sorry.
Idiot, you fell for it.
Huh? Kei-chan!
After our exchange, we both had a good laugh together. Except I was suspicious of her even as we were laughing. Was everybody really involved in the incidents? The fact that I couldn't say no saddened me.
I'm relieved that you seem well. Rena was really worried, you know? Sadako-chan was happy and said you got what you deserved. Rika-chan said, how unfortunate he's sick.
Looks like everyone was making a big deal out of it.
Well, you know. So, Kei-chan, is now a bad time to come pay you a visit?
A visit? No, it's okay. It's not like I'm dying.
My grandma made a ton of mochi, you see. I was told to share them, so I'll bring you some.
Her grandma,
She's brought up her grandma once before,
a few
I
times.
think.
Is that who she's staying with then?
Maybe.
Hey, now you'll catch my cold.
Not to worry. Both Rena and I are too stupid to catch a cold. See ya. Be there in a bit.
See? And his friends are just like, oh God, our friend is sick. Let's go bring him some homemade mochi. They're just being nice. I don't... She hung up cheerfully. Rena's coming too. That's what it sounded like. I was still concerned about the meeting Rena, but I guess if she was with Mion, then... I heard the doorbell 10 minutes later.
How you feeling? Did you take your medicine and rest?
I did just that.
Thank goodness you look well. I was worried.
I'm sorry. I'll be fine by tomorrow, I'm sure. Mion showed a complete lack of concern for someone who's recovering, and Rena looked like she was worried about me from the bottom of her heart. It didn't look like there was anything behind those expressions.
I thought we might hang out for a bit, but it looks like you're not quite in the condition for it.
You don't say. See, my pace appeared a bit sullen.
Then, here, Keiichi-kun, these are the mochi Michan's grandma made.
Rena held out the package wrapped in newspaper. Might be about 5 in there. It was quite hefty. Oh, thank you. Send my regards to your grandmama, Mion. Oh, wait, no, now I'm saying it.
Yep. Ah, there's one that I made in there as well. I wonder if Keiichi-kun can guess which one. This is Kei-chan's homework since he missed the club meeting today. There are letters on each mochi, so I'll ask you tomorrow.
Were you checking if I was feeling better, or did you come here just for club activities?
Yep, looking fine. Guess you'll be able to make it tomorrow.
Man, what are you gonna do if my fever comes back because of your shenanigans?
Michan, we shouldn't be making such a racket. Let's go. The other people here will get angry.
Both of them thought my parents were home, because the entranceway was a mess still.
You're right, let's get going. No, by the way, Kei-chan.
Yeah?
What did you eat for lunch?
All right, now she's got the glowy eyes. Let's It's a little subtler in the...
It's pretty subtle. The shadow over the face, though, is...
Yeah. Oh, the
thing in the new art.
Yeah. Where it's like hanging over their eyes, and yeah, you're right. That's much more pronounced. Yeah, because that's not at all there in the original art. That's actually a really good touch. I do appreciate that. The sudden question startled me, and I went wide-eyed when I saw Mion. I had never seen her like that. It was a highly unsettling visage. Why is she asking me about what I ate for lunch? What she said was so inane, it was almost meaningless. The way she said it was almost like she didn't even care at all about what I ate. I ate out. She must have suspected that I was with Oishi-san. Or she was worried that you didn't get enough to fucking eat, you sicko. You sicko. Sick. You're sick. Literally sick, not like metaphorically sick. Anyway, I felt that if I hesitated or tried to change the subject, then they'd read too deeply into it. So I tried answering it as quickly as possible. Contrary to the efforts I had made, there was a pause before they replied.
So you ate out for lunch, Keiichi-kun?
The glimmer from Rena's eyes had changed at some point as well. It was now sharp, as if to make me feel the feigned ignorance behind her words even more. As if she already knew that that's how it looked. To me.
Well, was it good?
Why are you asking me this? Mion was speaking in an unusually low tone. Almost as if she knew that I had eaten at the restaurant in town. No, I'm overthinking this. Both of them should have been in school at lunchtime. There was no way they could have known where I was.
Seems you were with a rather austere-looking older guy. Who was he?
Flop. The package with the mochi I was holding slipped out of my hands. I could tell the blood had drained from my face, making me go pale. Oh,
Keiichi-kun, who was he? Could it be the person from before, I wonder? I
could feel the back of my throat going dry. This was no longer a bluff. They knew everything? How do you know that? It took everything I had to finally force those words from my throat. My knees were shaking.
Because there's nothing this old man doesn't know.
Mion sneered knowingly, and our laugh seemed to carry on forever.
So, Kei-chan, what did you talk about? It seems like you got pretty worked up over it, too.
We weren't talking about you guys. I didn't have anything to do with you or Retta.
Isn't it a bit strange to hear our names come up even though nobody asked about that?
Rena's unwavering gaze pierced through my eyes and peered further inside me. I had dug my own grave. My heart was throbbing so much it felt like it was going to explode.
Well, whatever you're trying to hide, this old man already sees through it all. Remember that.
I couldn't even shake my head. It took everything I had to stop my teeth from shattering. She never let her gaze back from mine, even as she tilted her head slightly.
Keiichi-kun, you don't look so good. I think you should lie down. That's true. We should both head back home.
As if nothing had happened, they both giggled at each other and started making their way out. I hadn't moved a muscle since I dropped the package of mochi. As they left, the door slowly closed behind them. All I could do was stare, as if I couldn't move until the door was completely closed. Just as it was about closed, it opened again slightly with a sudden creak, setting my heart racing once again. A single eye peered in through that narrow slit, and Mion's hawkish gaze peered at me once again.
See you, Kei-chan.
Yeah.
I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow. All right?
Thud. The door closed. I wasn't able to move a muscle even after their low laughter died off into the distance, and silence once again enveloped the room. Coming back to my senses, the first thing I did was lock the door. They knew what Ooishi-san and I talked about? Why? Because you told them, you dipshit! How? Oh, that wasn't important. Thinking about it now, all it could have been overheard. From the beginning when Ooishi-san met me, just as Mion said, I couldn't hide anything. And what were they trying to tell me? That part was obvious. They were warning me not to say anything unnecessary. What did they deem unnecessary? I only talked with Ooishi-san about one thing, and they were warning me that it was unnecessary. What was it that he talked to me about? The incidents involving Oyashiro-sama's curse that occurred every year weren't individual cases, but they were connected as a whole, as well as the fact that there may be multiple perpetrators hidden within Hinamizawa. More precisely, Mion, Rena, Sadako, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. Is that what they are warning me against? What kind of nonsense am I thinking about? I hit my own face hard enough that it let out a loud slap. Only that would wake me from this nightmare, but for some reason it felt like I was punching a blanket. It was almost laughably painless. Calm down, Keiichi Maebara. Why did I become such a pessimist? Calm down. Calm down. Settle down and sort things out. The reason Mion knew I was eating lunch with Ooishi-san was probably because somebody from Hinamizawa just happened to be there at the time. They must have told Mion that I was there. That made the most sense. But let's come to think of it, she didn't ask me where I ate lunch, did she? She only asked, was it good? They were just curious since I was together with someone not from Hinamizawa. It's not as if they had any ulterior motives. Or they just wanted to make sure you had good lunch and got fed because you were sick all day. That's it. That has to be it. Thinking about it that way, it was the same with Rena. I was just being strangely ambiguous about when I met with Ooishi-san, and Rena was just correcting me on that. That's when I was bewildered by the change in character from the usual mild-mannered Rena. I was just startled by it. It's the most natural way of thinking about it. Felt like my mind was mixed up like a tangled mess of spaghetti. Deep red marinara sauce would have poured out of my nose and ears if you squeezed my head. Thinking that, I suddenly felt like vomiting. I really didn't want that to happen, so I stopped holding my head. Lately, I had no idea what anyone was saying. Spending time with them was fun. It didn't feel like there was any sort of hidden agenda. I really do think that they're a good bunch of people. When I just moved here and couldn't make heads or tails of everything, they were really kind to me. Rena was really kind and always looked after me. As long as that strange affliction didn't rear its ugly head, she was pretty cute. Mion is also a really good person. She didn't care about anyone's age or gender and was optimistic and outgoing. I was never bored when I was with her. And talking of not getting bored, rambunctious Sadako was a good person for that too. She was pretty bratty, but that was just the way she interacted with others. Rika-chan was the same way. She didn't speak often, but that didn't mean she was always silent. They're my friends! But after hearing the better untold secrets of Hinamizawa from Ooishi-san and Tomatake-san, when I heard about Oyashiro-sama's curse, things started going crazy. And then hearing from Ooishi-san that Mion, Rena, Sadako, and Rika-chan were all suspicious. After that, everyone changed. That's right. It all started getting weird after Ooishi-san told me all that strange stuff. And at that time, I really should have just not listened to those weird stories. And I even shouldn't have heard about the past incidents from Tomatake-san the night of the Watanagashi. I just hadn't gotten that strange sense of curiosity. I just hadn't. It's just 5 girls defending themselves and the rest of the town coming together to be like, no, they were right. It's more and it's better for us if people blame it on Oyashiro-sama's curse rather than, 5 girls who are defending themselves against abusive home lives. That's right. That's why they killed Tomatake's son. This is strange. Why is that starred out? I remember this exact... Okay, so... this is weird, but I'm going to talk about it because it's too on the nose. There's one other media I can think of that specifically used a censoring of 4 letters like this to indicate a possible of 2 different meanings.
Yep.
In Near Automata, this is not really a major... Like, without context, it's not really going to spoil you on anything. There is at one point where 9S someone is, like, interrogating him, right? Or getting into his thoughts. And they wind up asking him, like, you're thinking about how much you want to 4 letters censored to be, aren't you? And its use in that case was meant to create a purposeful ambiguity between the words kill and fuck. And that is also present in the original Japanese as well. Like that specific ambiguity between the words kill and fuck. I don't think that's what's going on here, but I don't think it's specifically those words, but I think that choosing to censor it like that is meant to, like, is it creating purposeful ambiguity between 2 ideas? Is it meant to throw us off?
I don't know.
So that's why they killed Tomatake-san? If not that, then what else? What other word goes there?
We've seen Ryukishi censor out a 4-letter word before in Umineko.
All right, we're back. Sorry about that, everyone. They'll probably kill Oishi-san as well. For trying to unearth what everyone was warning me was better left buried. Besides that, he was unforgivable for spewing words that made me doubt the others. Of course, a guy like that is going to be killed. Both Tomatake-san and Oishi-san were nothing but outsiders after all. They were entities who couldn't coexist with the people of Hinamizawa. Those guys should just fall into Oyashiro-sama's curse and just die. It wasn't their fault. It was my fault for not being able to hold back my curiosity. It wasn't their fault. 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 I settled into a daze with the lethargic feeling like I had just gotten up, but the ominous chill that haunted me had subsided. I was fine for now. I was no longer frightened. I'd completely recovered. I'll go to school tomorrow right as rain. I'll greet everyone. I'll take part in club activities. It'll definitely be fun. It had to be fun. I was one of them after all. Oh, that reminds me, I have to eat those mochi, don't I? Hope I'm able to tell which one Rena made. I remember the homework the 2 brought with them when they visited me. But how our club did delivery. That was something else. Picked up the package I dropped on the floor and headed into the living room. Be nice, I guess, to have some tea with it. To fill my mouth with mochi while drinking tea. Oh, it's quite a delectable situation I was in. Opening up the newspaper wrapping, there were 5 plump red bean paste mochi fit snugly inside. Letters written from left to right on the newspaper. A, B, C, D, and E. Now then. I said Rena made one of these. I wonder which one. Wasn't much of a difference in how they looked. They smelled and appeared about the same. This was a pretty difficult problem. The biggest difference was probably their shape. Wasn't sure what kind of person Mion's grandmother was, but Rena had to be different from hers. Looking carefully, I could see one mochi that was made very neatly. So well that just by staring at it, one could tell it stood out. Looks like the challenge depends on whether or not this one is Rena's. Calm down and think even harder. Mion said her grandma made a ton of them and was told to give some out, if I remembered correctly. Meant 4 of these were from that large batch. And what about Rena? She probably only made 1. Probably spent quite a bit of time on it. Meaning the one Rena made was this one, E. For a moment, I thought it may have been a trap Mion laid as she knew I'd pick up on it, but that probably wasn't the case. I wouldn't be so sure if I knew Mion had made it, but since she had said Rena made it, it probably wasn't a trap. Alright, my tea is ready too. I'll start with the defending champion, Mion's grandmother. Let's see. Oh, not bad. The smooth bean paste and soft, chewy texture left a little to be desired. The tea I drank afterwards also accentuated the experience. This was an exquisite piece of work. Now how about Rena's? The creation was so delicate one could think it was a high-class Japanese dessert. Since I normally had quite the appetite, I was slightly worried about the size of the portion, but, well, first a bite. This was quite a difficult one to judge, actually. The ingredients were exactly the same, so there was little difference in flavor. What was different was how it was shaped at the end, so that was to be expected. The deciding factors would be presentation and volume. The well-formed and well-sized champion versus Rena the challenger, with a size you just couldn't get enough of. If I'd only had one bite of Rena's, I'd probably have to wait until after I was done eating to make my decision. Maybe there's something hidden inside that could cause an upset. It seems my prediction was right. My tongue touched something. It didn't feel like something edible, so I reached in with my fingers and grabbed it. What was this? Did something flash on the screen really quickly? Was that the game, or was that something that flashed on the screen that I was supposed to see?
I didn't notice a flashing, but I also blinked.
Got it. Before I could fully comprehend what it was, I threw away the rest of the mochi I was eating as fast as I could. It slammed against the wall, causing the bean jam to splatter. And then after sticking for a moment, it slid down to the floor. Dumbstruck by my own actions. What was I doing? Rena had gone out of her way to make it for me. How could I? Dumbstruck. I looked down at the hand that had performed such a vile act, and then I remembered what I had taken out of my mouth. First, I thought it was a hair. I mean, it was shorter than Mion's. Rena's hair was still quite long, and it wasn't this short. It was also a bit too hard to be hair. It was thick enough to roll around on my tongue. There was a bit of metallic sheen on one end of it. So there was a hole. The thread goes through like it was a sewing needle. That's right. It looked very much like a sewing needle. Exactly like one. The end was pointed as well, quite sharply. It really did just look like a sewing needle. Did I mean by looked very much like a sewing needle just a bit ago? Couldn't answer, but a voice inside me already knew and let me know by chattering my molars together. I couldn't stave off the terror welling up inside of me. Suddenly, I tasted something metallic and felt a prickling pain at the back of my throat. I stuck my finger around to the back of my mouth and felt to see if I was bleeding. And suddenly I felt the urge to vomit. The sharp taste of bile irradiated the back of my throat. I clasped both hands over my mouth, and after writhing in agony, somehow able to hold back the nausea. Well, yeah, you just shoved your fingers in the back of your throat. Of course you're going to want to vom. Finally able to breathe normally again, but this time my heart was intensely throbbing. And then it finally registered exactly what was mixed in with the mochi. Before I could think of the correct word, my hands were already on the move. Splat. Plop. Splort. Tossed the rest of the mochi against the wall. The geometrical patterns of the scattered bean jam on the wall suddenly evoked a terrible omen in my mind. Looking away, I dashed out to the hall and flew upstairs to my room where I stayed under my covers until morning. So they put a needle in it. She put a needle in the mochi?
Guess which one's mine, Kei-chan?
To sew your mouth shut, huh?
Which one could it be? Was it delicious?
I clutched my own shoulders, howling madly in a mix of fear, anger, sadness, and frustration. This wasn't a threat or a warning or a reminder, nothing as simple as that. What had happened in Hinamizawa? What is happening in Hinamizawa? What would happen? I didn't know the answer to any of those questions. Where did I break a taboo? Regardless, now Rena and Mion and others, they consider me an enemy. And they thought I should just die. I won't let you kill me. Not for such a pointless reason. I fell into a restless sleep as I was crushed by my negative emotions. It was as if I was being drawn into a billowing, bottomless marsh. Like you were spirited away by demons into the bottomless marsh. Yeah, I got it. Oh, fun! Well, that's neat. So there was something like a sewing needle in there, huh?
Yeah.
He kept saying something like a sewing needle.
He did.
Is it... I don't know if I'm meant to be like, oh, it is a sewing needle and he doesn't want to admit it. Or we got an achievement called Hard to Swallow. Enjoy a homemade snack. Let's see those tips. What's a drug that makes you commit suicide? Again, it's not that. He was hung. God, I refuse to buy into this part. I refuse. Now here, let's cut to the chase. Is there a drug that done cause someone to kill themselves?
Not directly, no.
Well, that's quite a roundabout response. You're saying the one that does it indirectly.
Something that puts you into a suicidal mental state like that?
Well, that's hard to say now. What would a suicidal mental state even be?
Like a person with a serious bipolar disorder. It's believed that people are most likely to attempt suicide Attempt. I'm repeating myself. Why,
It's
I'm
done
swinging
all right,
from
friend.
depression to mania.
Clinical depression and bipolar disorder are different. Clinical depression indicates a prolonged state of depression, whereas bipolar disorder is characterized by a passive depressed state accompanied by a very active manic state. So, for example, I am clinically depressed. Individuals with clinical depression suffer from low self-esteem and are quite pessimistic, but they rarely commit suicide. They do not have the willpower to commit suicide.
I think this is probably not Oishi talking.
Oh, right. My bad.
Nor does mania on its own lead to suicide. That has an opposite effect, filling the person with confidence and making them feel as though they are walking on air. Thus, they do not commit suicide.
Okay, it's fiction. It's fine. Well, that's interesting, don't you think? Neither state causes suicide, but when the condition changes, they might do so.
There is a desire to commit suicide when in a state of depression, but they do not have the willpower to commit such a formidable act. But when they enter mania, they gain a burst of willpower and their body moves as they desire.
I see. It's kind of that executive function I keep hearing about, huh? It means they gain the willpower to commit suicide.
That's how it goes. That's why patients are given sedatives during that time to keep them from acting on their impulses.
Then was this Tomateki man bipolar?
And people who suffer from bipolar disorder generally commit suicide by more civilized means, like, say, hanging or jumping off a building. Self-harm, as though going through withdrawal, is completely different.
Tomateki's death wasn't civilized, so one would think it was caused by some foreign substance. Said from the start, tell me of a drug that causes someone to commit suicide.
There are reports that methamphetamine overdoses produce a condition that resembles bipolar disorder. It's a stimulant. Barbiturate overdoses are also reported to cause erratic behavior. That's a sleep aid.
There ain't no signs of stimulants. Are there any other possibilities?
All I can think of is that it's some sort of illness, something like Graves' disease, which affects the thyroid and is known to cause symptoms that resemble bipolar disorder, but Graves' disease has many characteristic symptoms of its own. The deceased exhibited none of them.
I wonder then, ain't there something that could happen more spontaneously? Something that fits this case and would cause someone to want to commit suicide all of a sudden?
Are you familiar with organic mental disorders? In short, it's a condition where the brain is out of whack due to physical injury or illness. It can be caused by drugs, but it can also be caused by physical trauma, encephalitis, a stroke, or even tumors.
Basically, even without a drug, one can succumb to an irregular mental state.
The deceased was surrounded after being chased, and his life was in danger, right? All that stress could have messed with his brain chemistry. He could have hit his head, and those factors combined might have caused him to mutilate himself. It's a possibility.
Quick clarification of information here.
Yeah.
Did the police report determine definitively that he was beaten before he died?
I don't know that
Or
it said
is it
that.
just the presence of both the markings of a beating on his body and also that, the wound on his neck?
Yeah, I think the latter.
I think the latter. Because it could be he committed suicide and then they beat his body and clawed his neck open afterwards to help sell the image.
Yeah, that's also very possible.
Yeah. Because I'm thinking, you don't beat someone like that while they're alive. It causes too much noise.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain it to me in simpler terms?
Basically, he knocked his noggin in the brawl, and that made him go haywire.
Then his lady didn't have no intent to kill, huh? Just smacked him in a bad place when he nicked some change. The two plump men laughed hoarsely.
But of course, it's not like that.
Undoubtedly.
If it was habitual drug use, if it was something mental, the deceased body holds the key. How are things on your end?
Oh my goodness, look at the time. I need to get back soon or Kuma-chan will get angry with me.
Yep, good luck. Best wishes.
Best wishes. Interesting. I like how that conversation feels both right and wrong to me. Right in the sense that it does seem like he hung himself. I'm thinking more about it. It makes more sense that he hung himself and then his body was found afterwards and prepared to look like that. But then why would he claw at his own neck? Because that implies that he was hung against his will. Or,
What happened to Mio then?
yeah, we don't know. Maybe Mio set it up. I don't know. I haven't really been factoring it because she's barely there.
Yeah.
But I have to keep reminding myself that, no, she was there. She's involved here. Maybe she set it up somehow. I feel like I don't know enough about his relationship with them. Again, could be he's one of those missing people from years prior. He definitely has a reason to want to keep coming back, but also he's a known quantity.
Yeah.
If he was the person that went missing at the dam strike as a result of the action at the dam, the people there would know that.
You'd think so.
They'd probably have an incentive to keep quiet about it, but like they would know. The fact that he's dead definitely seems to put him firmly in the anti-dam camp, at least as far as the pattern goes. Again, I don't know that that's the right framing to look at this from, but maybe... Oh, what do we got here? Those guys just now. They had national diet badges.
Then it's Prefectural Assembly Member and City Councilor Sonozaki.
Well, that's interesting. The Prefectural Assembly Member and City Councilor are related, after all. Oh, it's dirty is what it is. Shouting out each other's name during elections while one is up for election, the other one holds an assembly. They double up the campaign activities. Blatantly. Oh, yeah, political collusion. Nepotism. This is what I'm here for.
And that's a pretty familiar name by now, isn't it?
Sonozaki.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Prefectural Assembly Member, City Councilor Sonozaki. So, this is Mion's... This would be either Mion herself. Is she 18? I feel like it would be strange even if she was like trusted to let a teenager have an office like that. It's probably either someone in her family or her grandma. I guess conservation of characters. Probably her grandmother?
Maybe.
Those guys just now, they said, though. But I guess, it could be guys, gender neutral. Either way, it looks like someone related to Mion.
I don't know much about this stuff, but isn't that against the rules of the election?
As long as they have no prior consultation, they ain't no restriction on their political activities. Kuma-chan, the investigation division's gonna be pretty tough for you. Should at least brush up on election policies.
Oh, this is somebody else than the interlocutor from the previous.
Yep.
Who is Kuma-chan? What should Kuma-chan be like?
Kuma. Tiny little bear.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whoever you want the bear to be.
I'm not suited for the intelligence division, because I'm dumb.
Perfect. There was Prefectural Assembly Member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki. Also, the Mayor of Hinamizawa. All of them involved with the Sonozaki family. So wait, these are 3 different Sonozakis?
The mayor we had learned the name of.
What was the mayor's name again?
Kimiyoshi.
Kimiyoshi was involved with the Sonozaki family?
Apparently, according to Oishi here.
According to Oishi, they are. Did the game tell us that one? I am genuinely
I don't think so. I think we have Oishi's word on it here.
We only have Oishi's word on it right now. Okay. So there's a Sonozaki family member on the Prefectural Assembly. There's a city council, city of Hinamizawa? They have a city council?
Probably Okinomiya, the nearby
okay.
city.
So the Sonozaki family is wider spread than just Hinamizawa.
Seems
especially
like
if they're
it.
at the Prefectural Assembly level.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because that means that Mion has family members in high places, relatively.
Yeah.
That's quite interesting. What crap?
Looks like they were seen off by the department chief and the deputy chief.
It came to me. That night when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it. You have a lot of connections, so you might have heard something, did you?
Nope, not a thing.
Ma'am, I'll take a tofu fritter and a fish cake. Counselor balked at me, the police chief's dead.
Oh,
I think we got this backward. Oh my, is that so? Ma'am, I'll take another bowl. Or what
I think this is Oishi talking to someone at a food stand.
Oh, right.
The person he's ordering from.
Got it. Okay, so
he's alone at a food stand. After this event. That night when the chief invited me along to get some Odin, I thought that was it.
got it.
A counselor barked at me in the police chief's stead. The police chief invites him to Samodin.
Yep.
He's surprised to meet a city councilor there, who chews him out for something. Now he's sadly getting some snacks on his own.
Gotcha. Sorry, I thought this was the night when the okay.
Maybe it is. This is just my guess. It's ambiguous text.
Yeah, it is. It is a little ambiguous. Prefectural Assembly member Sonozaki and City Councilor Sonozaki were both intimidating. Our snot-nosed career police chief couldn't even handle being yelled at by them. They're like Yakuza. Oh, are they? I mean, it was unspoken up until now, but yeah, if they've got that kind of family power.
The petition with your name came up regarding how the investigation of the Hinamizawa incident is being handled.
Oh, goodness me. I ain't the faintest.
No need to play dumb. You're reopening the past cases regarding Hinamizawa, aren't you? Okay, so he is here with the police chief.
Okay. I already got my hands full with Tomotanki's death, actually.
Really? If that's true, then there's no problem.
There was a period of silence. While we were silent, we made headway on our food and drink. That was quite the feast. Oh. The month had been quite a bundle of losses for me, so my wallet's been feeling the pinch. Much appreciated.
Nah, it's nothing. Tell me a good horse again. I'll bet on the same one as you.
Nah, I ain't been doing well there lately. I ain't been able to read the horses at all. Taxi. Oh, we got him backwards.
Yep, this entire scene, I have no idea if he's saying anything.
I'm going by train. The police chief is taking a taxi. I have my own car, but it'd be rash to drive it home. Can't blow it right before retirement with the DUI. Even though he could still rattle off, it looked like his legs were already goo. Pushing him into the cab, I gave the driver the police chief's address. See you again tomorrow. Happy New Year.
Oishi-san.
Yeah.
The past incidents have all been closed. Stop lumping them all together. Those villagers have to believe it's really a curse.
I ain't convinced.
You're going to be retiring next year, aren't you? Weren't you going to pay off your mortgage with your pension and move up to Hokkaido with your mom?
Mother pines to return to the land of her birth. Least I can do for her. The pension, well, will let me enjoy myself in Susukino. Nah.
The police chief may issue a special retirement salary raise, he says.
A public service pension is calculated based on their monthly salary. If you were to get a raise right before retirement, your bonus, to your salary, would be inflated. You get a heavy surplus of funds. Tends to be how it's done around here. Not a custom that's thought of highly. The difference between the bonus and the pension is quite a bit. I expect nothing less exemplary from our egghead chief, but, they say our salary is compensation for our hard work, but in the end, it really just has to do with the passage of time, don't it? Well, it's something I can laugh at, but I'll laugh through it anyway.
I don't think it's anything exemplary, but given how hard you worked, it's not odd that you're getting that much of a pension. I'd like to get that much myself.
If I can get it, well, of course I'd want it.
You'll get it. You're an adult after all.
Sorry for holding you up here, driver. Thank you very much. I closed the door roughly, interrupting the chief's conversation a bit rudely. Looked like the chief still had something to say, but he just smiled wryly and waved. I waved in return. The cab sped up gradually and soon disappeared among the sea of lights. Oh man, I wonder if I really can repay that loan. So, the Sonozaki family have some measure of influence over the police and don't want this case being opened.
Sure seems like it.
Yeah. Interesting. Oh, am I gonna have to, when I'm rewatching this for editing, I'm gonna have to start mapping out, details and names and how they're connected. I'm gonna get a fucking corkboard.
Hell yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Can't wait to order you a conspiracy board.
Oh, and again, it's really just the saddest thing, isn't it? I still think my original theory is holding water here.
Yeah?
Yeah. We'll see. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of muffled footsteps stopped in front of the door to my room. Moment of silence, as if whomever they belonged to was ascertaining if I was inside. Ah, shit. Of all the things I should have been doing, I continued on with my restless slumber and, spilling seltzer water on my skirt.
I see.
I was very much conscious, but my body hadn't yet caught up. Even with danger bearing down on me from just beyond the door, it was as if I was completely paralyzed, unable to move. Without a doubt, this was sheer terror. Please, just leave. Hey, why isn't my body awake yet, huh? They came into my room right now, then. 'Cause sleep paralysis, you dumb shit. Ah!
Ma!
I sprung to my feet and threw my covers at my mom, who was opening the door.
Whoa, Keiichi, what's the matter?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was still half asleep. Thought it was still 1 or 2 a.m., but the morning sun was already streaming through the gap between the curtains. Felt nothing like morning. Yesterday I must have fallen asleep right after that. Should have gotten a full 10 hours of rest, but didn't feel like that at all. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. Is this all about Keiichi having mental problems that are going unaddressed? Because it really...
I wonder.
Because, like, on the one hand, like I've been talking around Keiichi because in some ways he is kind of a vehicle for the audience to learn what's going on, but also he's his own character and he's clearly not well.
Yeah, it seems like at some point between... It didn't seem so weird a couple chapters ago, but something seems pretty off by now, huh?
Yeah, like we keep talking about, people around keep talking about like the mental state of the girls and of Tomatake and whatnot, but what about our narrator here? He's clearly not well. Like, he slept for 10 hours and still tired. My dude, you're depressed. You know what I mean?
Or he's got a cold. Doctor thought so.
Yeah, he didn't think so, but I mean, Keiichi himself didn't think so, but Doctor thought so. My internal clock was completely screwed up and my sense of balance felt off. Felt feverish enough that it was clear to me that I was still not well.
Well, Keiichi, how are you feeling? Can you make it to school?
I was well enough to go, but I wasn't mentally prepared for it. I was still plagued with the terror from yesterday. If I'd swallowed that needle, what would have happened? No word about what happened when your mom and dad came home and found that mochi on the wall, huh?
Yeah, huh?
Or what if it had pierced my tongue? It was undoubtedly a murderous intent, but I don't think that's all it was. If they really wanted to kill me, then there were other more certain ways to do it. They wouldn't resort to such a dubious method as having me swallow a needle.
It's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Now that I've said all that about Keiichi aloud, I'm wondering how much we trust in what he's reporting. If I'm actually gonna straight up come out and question Keiichi's mental health and whether or not that's having a part in the narrative and how he's viewing things, are we able to view what he's showing us as exactly what's happening?
Would Ryukishi do that to you?
I have no idea. Of course not. Well, I mean, can we do another spoiler section for Umineko at the end?
Absolutely.
Hey, we're back. Check the end of the sode if you want to know what that was about. I am going to have to do so much work in these episodes editing, I'm just realizing. Meaning that I didn't want to believe it, but going that far was just a threat from Rena and Mion. Aren't you glad you didn't die? But next time we'll use a more assured method. Like that. Something like sending a letter with a razor inside could have been a joke compared to this.
Did you make it to the hospital? Did you take your medicine?
Yeah, kind of. Something about my mom's dubious gaze bothered me. Seemed more concerned about her son missing 2 days of school rather than him being sick. It was definitely mental fatigue. I wasn't really physically ill.
It'll be hard for you to get back on track once your daily routine is thrown off.
That's true.
Come on, get up. They say wellness is a state of mind.
That's also true to a degree. It's also completely unhelpful to hear. I'd heard that line many times before. I was given an award in elementary school for having perfect attendance, but it wasn't like I was healthier than everyone.
Come on, go wash your face. Breakfast is already ready. There isn't much time before Rena-chan comes and gets you.
Mom's tone meant I couldn't argue about it, so I had to give up on skipping a second day.
By the way, were you the one who got bean paste all over the living room wall, Keiichi? You shouldn't do something like that. Your father was quite angry.
I didn't feel particularly guilty for doing it, so I didn't have much of a reaction. Also, Mom didn't question me any further about it. Almost like she's used to seeing this kind of behavior. Almost like this is something that she knows about and knows how to deal with. And Keiichi, you're not a reliable narrator, my dude. Keiichi, are you okay, buddy? Press 1 if you need help. Oh no. The real tragedy is Keiichi all along, isn't it? Oh no. My poor little soybean. I really appreciate that you have... I want to just talk a little quick here. I really appreciate that you, knowing everything that's happening and what's going on in this already, have given me nothing to work with. I've like tried to poke and prod you a little bit outside of the sods just to see if you would react or not, and you are tight-lipped. You will not give up anything. I have no idea if I'm on the right track or if I'm just talking out my ass. So, props to Vivian for being the best reading partner I could ask for.
You're welcome.
No one can see what or hear what you just did.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Viv. She headed back downstairs after she was certain I was getting up. What Mion said as she left yesterday, I'd hate it if you missed school tomorrow, came back and dwelled in the back of my head. Yeah, 'cause you're her friend! What does she mean by that? I didn't even have to really think about it. She was saying don't be absent. Thinking that a bit further, it's the same state as her saying I should just not go about living my life as if nothing had happened. If I showed any signs of acting unusual, it would probably result in them making their move. Maybe I shouldn't pay attention to someone like Oishi-san enticing me with something unusual. Meaning if I didn't watch my mouth or did anything differently from the norm, in effect it would end up flagging myself as someone who was not wanted. Seems that's something that the girls didn't intend to forgive. Just went along as normal. No harm would come to me. That's how it was going to be. Yeah, that's a real healthy state of mind. As long as I don't react to what's going on around me and just pretend everything is normal, no harm will come to me. That sounds like the mental state of someone who has had a good upbringing.
Just be normal. Why can't you be normal?
Just be
It'll
normal.
be fine if you were normal.
Come on! If you were just normal, I wouldn't have to beat you, son. I really think I'm onto something here, but watch it be completely wrong. All that misery I experienced up until yesterday would almost creepily just fade away. It was an enticing ideal. It was an enticing deal. Just by forgetting everything I'd seen or heard these last few days, I'd be able to keep living on like normal. There's no way such a selfish thing could... I swallowed hard. I once again deliberated on the idea I had just rejected. Mion was probably a good person who had her friends at heart. She was giving me, who had mistakenly broken some rule of theirs, a chance. Was what I did really something so unforgivable? But Mion had given me another chance. She was saying if I just forgot everything and kept living on like I had been, I'd be forgiven. Also, his mom didn't mention the needle.
True.
Just the bean paste.
True. Keiichi, your food is going to get cold. Hurry up and get down here. Rena will be here if you don't hurry.
I'm coming. I crammed my textbooks into my bag and hastily made my way downstairs. I picked up my somewhat bland breakfast. Seemed I didn't have much time. It was already past when I usually met up with Rena. Somewhat bland breakfast. See, this is really giving me Keiichi depression vibes. Like, suddenly a lot of the things he used to enjoy kind of lose their luster and vibrance, right? The breakfast that he was always so happy his mother made for him, right, is now kind of bland.
Yeah?
Yeah. Given yesterday's event, she'd probably be here within the next 5 minutes. I needed to be ready to head to school by then. I had to forget everything that had happened in the past 2 days. Forget it all and return to my normal life. For this to be normal, I'll have to be where I normally meet up with Rena. Today of all days, the rice was dry and hard to get down. Yeah, healthy mental attitude of like, I've got to work so hard to be normal. If I do all the steps right to being normal, then everyone will forget about me and I can just go about my life. Oh, I love that mental state that I've definitely never had experience with. Ding dong. I jumped at the sound and dropped my chopsticks. That chime signaled that Rena had arrived. Mom hurried me along.
Come on, Rena-chan's already here. Hurry, hurry.
My mother's merry smile and my gloomy face were polar opposites. Honestly, I was reluctant to see her. Rena, who was waiting there on the other side of the door. The Rena on the other side. Was it the Rena I knew? I couldn't keep her waiting. I needed to do things as usual.
Morning.
An invigorating greeting filtered in from across the doorway.
I came since Keiichi-kun was a bit late. Will he be okay today, I wonder?
The manner in which Rena was concerned was, without a doubt, the Rena I knew. But that was probably only if I reciprocated. Forget everything from yesterday. Pretend as though nothing had happened. Forget about the gruesome dismemberment. Forget about the mysterious deaths that happened the following years. Forget about the people falling to their death, then the terminal illness and suicide and lynching and the disappearances. Forget it. Forget all of it. Forget that Rena and Mion were scary. Of course, forget it all. Forget about everyone. Forget about the mochi, too. Forget. Rena, once again, asked to make sure.
Can you make it to school?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Great. Then let's go. Mi-chan is waiting.
Rena showed me her usual bright smile. I couldn't find any hint of deceit in her expression. My nervousness dissipated, giving way to relief. Every time the music cuts out now, it's so menacing.
But you see, Sadako-chan was so insistent she could do it.
As we were walking, Rena talked about a lot of different stuff, more so than usual. Then?
Sadako-chan is clumsy, so she failed no matter how many times she tried. She was so cute.
Everything Rena talked about was just silly nonsense. So I replied every so often and laughed from time to time. It was rather laid-back conversation. She also never asked about the mochi. That we passed by one of our neighbors and they called out to us.
Oh my, Keiichi-chan and Rena-chan, aren't you two a bit late today? Mion-chan said she was going on ahead. Uh-oh, did Mi-chan look mad, I wonder? We need to hurry up, Keiichi-kun.
As we smiled and parted ways with our neighbor, they turned back towards me and stuck out a tongue. Not expecting that, I couldn't help but crack a smile.
Ah, Keiichi-kun smiled.
What? Rena stopped and stared at me.
I was thinking that you still hadn't recovered from your cold since you seemed down this morning, Keiichi-kun. But now you seem fine. Fine.
With a grin, she gently poked my cheek. It was a bright, sincere smile, and yes, Vivian leaned over to prunk my cheek. Oh, yeah. Fun days of being depressed, but also working very hard to make sure it didn't show so you weren't a burden on others, and trying to make sure no one could not to raise any questions and just to be normal. Just be normal. If you can just be normal, nothing bad will happen to you. Hey, Keiichi Maebara. How can you still doubt Rena after she shows you a smile like that? Maybe I just had a high fever up until today, and I just imagined everything that I had thought happened because I was bedridden and delirious. I really hoped that was the case. If God would grant me just one wish, there is only one thing that I would wish for. I would want what happened in the past few days. More specifically, from the night of the Watanagashi up until last night. I wanted all of that to have never happened. I wonder how many times I'd wished for these past few days. As long as Rena kept on smiling like this, I think it just might become a reality. So I wanted Rena to keep on smiling. Keep on smiling.
So, Keiichi-kun.
No, don't do this.
Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all?
The vain wish of mine instantly shattered. My heart began palpitating. The relaxed morning mood suddenly became frigid. Rena's smile was the same as usual. Her eyes were gentle as usual.
Oh.
No, go ahead.
Those mochi yesterday, did you eat them all?
Of course she wasn't asking the question at face value. In other words, she was asking, did you get the message? She was probably trying to convey that.
Keiichi-kun.
I was reluctant to give an answer. She stopped walking and stared deeply into my eyes. Don't hesitate, Keiichi Maebara. Rena was acting the same as always, wasn't she? I needed to respond in my usual way. Naturally, of course. But both my throat and my mouth had gone dry. My lips were stuck together. Hurry and answer, Keiichi. Not that much time had passed. I could still keep the conversation going naturally. I had to say something quickly. Duh.
Duh?
Rena playfully mimicked what I said when I finally squeaked something out. Her reaction was still normal. Seems there wasn't as long of a pause as I'd thought. Somehow I finally squeaked out the rest. Delicious! However, my strained efforts neither sullied nor brightened her expression. For a moment I panicked, thinking I replied incorrectly. But after a few moments, Rena broke into her usual soft smile and giggled with a joyful voice that seemed to echo through the morning air. Being strung along by that laugh, I couldn't help but laugh as well.
I see. So did you eat all of them, I wonder? I wonder.
My timid smile froze again. Did you make it without swallowing the sewing needle? Was that what she was asking? If I'd swallowed it, then I wouldn't be here. I couldn't finish all of them. Still some left over. I was scared out of my wits, but that's how I played it.
What about the homework to see if you could tell which one Rena made?
That homework, was it due today?
Yeah, it's due today. Mi-chan will get angry. There's probably a penalty game ready for you.
Oh no. We both laughed at each other again. To a casual observer, it was just a typical morning. If I could just let myself believe, then I'd even think it was just the usual morning routine. But I was certain that I wasn't mistaken. There was something unimaginable buried beneath the facade of this giggling Rena.
Lies.
I recalled that unexpected, piercing voice that I could hardly believe came from her mouth. The moment that image crossed my mind, I felt a cold sweat trickle down my back. Was it only at that particular time that something evil had possessed Rena? No, that was wrong. That was still Rena. Oh, Ishii-san told me, didn't he? Actually, I done looked into her. Before Ryugu-san moved away to Hinamizawa, she was suspended from school. Seems she went through her school building and broke all of them windows. And installed Linux in their place. Rena had a disorder that normal people didn't. No matter how pleasantly she smiled, that fact would not change. But I couldn't even imagine how she looked as she broke all the glass throughout the school. One thing I knew was that it wasn't something spur of the moment. If it was some sudden outburst of anger, then maybe she'd break a pane or two, but she broke all of the windows, all throughout her school.
Gotta be thorough.
Going through your own school and breaking the windows with a bat. Swinging full force at each pane of glass, one after the other, paying no heed to the flying shards. Her classmates aghast, unable to move from the sudden turn of events. I wonder where she could have found the most windows lined up in a row. Probably the hallway. Smash, walk, wind up, smash, walk, wind up. It was difficult for me to connect that horrifying image with the Rena smiling at me right now. But I just had to imagine it. Impossible, because it was unimaginable. That naive way of thinking no longer worked. The unpleasant, piercing sound of shattered glass, the crunching noise as she treads across the broken shards, walking towards me. Rena's classmates going pale as they forget to even breathe. I wonder what they did as Rena came closer, breaking windows along her path. Did they earnestly try to bring her to her senses by saying something? Or did they jump at her trying to stop her savagery? Or did they run to the staff room after being directed there by the teachers? Probably none of those. In the face of that blood-curdling sight, of Rena busting window after window, undoubtedly all they could do was silently clear a path for her. Dumbfounded, just clearing the path for Rena to continue. It was far too violent an act for them to seek refuge by looking the other way. It's not to say they were looking the other way. They were doing the only thing they could to protect themselves. If they had done something differently from the rest, they may have suddenly found themselves as Rena's new target. What would she have done to whoever attracted her attention? The answer was obvious. She would have undoubtedly acting according to her whims. Meaning I would, be the next window. Rena staring into my eyes, shards of glass crunching and crackling underfoot as she drew closer. I was also drawn into her eyes, paralyzed. Then Rena struck me with the bat over and over again like I was one of those windows. I crouched down onto the floor, desperately protecting my head. Rena didn't care whether it was my head or my back. Zealously, she hits me again and again. And if it expression was she making as she was doing this over and over again? I peered up to see. Her expression was so indifferent. It was completely unnerving. It's because no matter how many times she struck me, I didn't make as pleasant a sound as the other windows. She struck me continuously, over and over again. The sound Rena wanted didn't come out. Our classmates standing around didn't try to stop her. They didn't want to be the next window. Someone save me. Turning a blind eye unless we're hanging out. Of course, everyone in class scrambled to obtain the highest standardized test scores. They'd gained nothing from saving a cram school tryhard like me. Eventually, there'd be a faint sound, similar to when you crack open a walnut, and some sort of reddish-black spray would shoot out. Wasn't that Rena momentarily lost herself in anger? Forcing myself to breathe and calming down my heart, I recalled what Ooishi-san told me. On the counselor's medical report, he recorded all the conversations he had with Rena-san. It shows up, and quite a bit at that. What does? She mentioned the word Oyashiro-sama. Real quick, I want to take a quick sidebar here.
Yeah?
While we're going through the scene. One, this is all just Keiichi catastrophizing.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is all just, like, we don't know what it was like at her school. I doubt it would even be in session when she did that, if that's really how events went. If you wanted to break all the windows in the school, the best way to do it would be when no one else was fucking there.
Yeah.
Secondly, this feels way too personal. I'm feeling more and more like Keiichi had some crap going on that's causing to project this in this detailed of a manner.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, like this definitely feels personal. Like even though like the whole situation he fabricated was fictional, obviously he never went to school with Rena. Probably. We don't have any reason to believe that right now.
Mm-hmm.
This all seems like stuff that he's definitely at some point stopped thinking about what was happening to her and started thinking about what had happened to him. You know, at some point along the way, he lost the thread, and this came back to stuff that hit a little bit too close to home. Third thing. Was there a third thing in there? I think there was another thing I wanted to hit. With the bat, just the windows one by one. I know that was really it. I think I wanted to stress that like this is just Keiichi so far just catastrophizing.
Mm-hmm.
And that it seemed to hit really too personally, so it felt like maybe, you know, at some point this became more about him. We don't really know anything about what the situation with Rena at her old school was. And until we get that answer, I don't know, why do we have to assume it's the most gruesome version of it? A lot of the gruesome bits of this have been like... They've been more... Like, there are a couple things that have been gruesome on their own, but most of the gruesome stuff has just been Keiichi having a really normal one. Oh, I remember the other thing I wanted to get right now.
Yeah?
Because this has occurred to me more and more recently. Especially in modern cinema in the past couple decades, it's often like in vogue to kind of like dramatize mental illness in certain ways for shock value, right, or certain effect. And a naive reader might want to like take that approach here with Ryukishi, be like, "Hey, dude, that's not what this is like. You know, you can't just call it someone bipolar and, you know, display them like this." Ryukishi gets a lot of leeway from me on this one. For one, we've already finished Umineko, so I have a lot of trust for this author. And for two, he's passed as a social worker. I trust that if he's portraying stuff like this, he's got a reason for it, right? So even though there are definitely some moments where things look like they're dramatized, and even though it seems like mental health stuff can get sensationalized to a degree,
yeah,
there is a lot of trust I have in Ryukishi as an author that this is going somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That this isn't just shock value for shock value's own sake. That there is a point at the end of this that is being made, and that this will, and that this isn't ultimately just self-serving or, I don't know if voyeuristic is the right word for it, but like, you know, it's not just using the guise of mental illness for shock value. Anyway, That was a whole bunch of things that came to mind while reading that scene.
They're good things to come to mind.
You got anything you want to add?
I don't think I do.
Anything to add to your big pile of questions that you're going to... Because you've been collecting questions you want to ask me when we're done with chapter 1, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I figure I could tell you this now. We're going to do a chapter 1. We're going to do a post-chapter breakdown for each of the chapters. But at least for the first one, it's just going to be the two of us. So you've been collecting stuff you want to harass me about. Following all of that stuff, Rena was suspended and had regular examinations at the hospital. And then as she was undergoing counseling, she said it over and over. Oyashiro-sama. Seems I said it in his voice.
You did.
It seems the Oyashiro-sama she spoke of was like a ghost appearing in her house every night, standing over her pillow looking down at her. It was only a piece of their conversation, so I still couldn't see the big picture, but it was by no means a happy little conversation. And we all know that the name Oyashiro-sama didn't come out of nowhere. She grew up in Hinamizawa, so, she could have pulled it from there.
Mm-hmm.
Then what Rena did? Was she saying that ghastly incident was a result of her being possessed by Oyashiro-sama? Up until now, I didn't want to believe in Oyashiro-sama's curse. So I wanted to say the mysterious deaths every year happened because of some sort of conspiracy. Every time I talked with Oishi-san, I was more and more certain that the deaths were the work of men and not of some curse. Except if it was people perpetrating the incidents, my friends were somehow deeply connected. If I refused to believe that the curse was real, then I would have to believe those who acted the kindest to me were deeply involved in the incidents. But why? How? For what reason? Was Rena? Was everyone? It was much more painful and troublesome than accepting that it was just Oyashiro's curse. In the aftermath, Rena had admitted to her doctor that it was because she was possessed by Oyashiro-sama. I felt a strange sense of relief from that. So that's how it was. There wasn't a second side to Rena. She did that because she was possessed by something strange, like Oyashiro-sama. It wasn't Rena's fault. Oyashiro-sama was the one to blame. I knew. This was all backwards. Refusing to believe there was a curse, I wanted there to be a human perpetrator. And now that my close friends were the ones under suspicion, I changed my beliefs at my own convenience, saying that it was Oyashiro-sama's curse to blame. Which was the better choice? Accepting Oyashiro-sama's curse exists, or that Rena and the rest of them were deeply involved in the string of mysterious deaths. I didn't want to think about it. If I just didn't think about it, I'd be able to continue the same as always. I desperately wanted to believe that. But that was no longer possible. I had received their message, loud and clear. It was pathetic of me to try and bend the meaning to my own convenience. Regardless of my opponent being a human or a curse, I won't let it kill me. As if I would just bend over and give in. For no good reason at all.
Keiichi-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder?
Oh, don't mind me, just dissociating.
Oh, okay, I do that.
I figured. Inhaling sharp...
About, 10, 11, 12 hours a day.
What?
What?
Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses.
I've been practicing. I'm getting better at it.
At what? Dissociating or pretending you're not?
Either. Both.
Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance. Shaking my head a few times, I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there was no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. I was going to say, you didn't check for traps, you dumb shit. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went into my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony.
How befitting for the truant, Keiichi-san.
Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena. Good morning, Sadako-chan, Rika-chan.
Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Sadako's trap. Sadako braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently.
What is this? How discouraging indeed.
Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet. Yeah, take it easy on him for today, okay?
Suddenly, there was a slap down on my shoulder. It hurt a bit.
Hey, Kei-chan, did you get enough rest?
It was Mion. My mind was full with the stuff about Rena, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday? Yeah, good morning to you.
What's with that unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you?
Because I ate them, I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. I'm sorry.
Huh? What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Rena's? I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Keiichi-kun. Sheesh, then we can't help it. Time for your penalty.
Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Maebara, no one would ever suspect them. And that fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came.
The real scariest thing is that they're doing nothing scary.
Yeah,
that makes
right?
it scarier.
My friends are concerned and trying to act normal to lift up my spirits. I know I better be really frightened by that. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. Oh, this is good.
Yeah?
I like this. Oh, this game is really good. I can see why people enjoy it. The free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After interacting with Oishi-san multiple times, I could see that I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. It probably had no meaning beyond stunting my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me. They were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation on my desk made me recall Satoshi Hojo, the boy who was just using the seat until last year when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? So, yeah, Satoshi being Rena doesn't really work then in that case, does it? Because if Satoshi was here, but Rena was at school at a different place, that up until she moved recently. Unless that's part of the fiction that they're like, oh yeah, Rena just moved here. Don't worry about it. Stop asking questions, buddy. I want to believe in trans Rena theory, okay?
Yeah.
Did he learn something he shouldn't have, and was he erased? God damn it, I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all their suspicious behavior in a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. Though that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends, covering for them, my life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point. Given my current situation, those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Rena and the rest of them, were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Again, an indication of a very healthy state of being. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Maebara? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have just been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious, it was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked me about what I had for lunch. Rena was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. She's probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour outside of your room? And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? I still doubt she was even there. I think his dad was fucking with him because his dad's a little piece of shit. You heard from Oishi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did at her former school? But at the hospital, she said it was Oyashiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Maebara. Don't you realize that they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted those words out loud. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a moment. Afterwards, I had to look around to check as if anyone else had heard it. My little soliloquy had cut a little too close to the truth. Even though I could feel the murderous intent from Rena and the others, part of me somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student. A man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends, who I'd been happily laughing together with up until last Sunday, now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so only I could hear it. There was one thing I now understood. That all my classmates had just heard me blurt out something completely ridiculous and now think I'm probably not well. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for not listening to Oishi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so no one had any notion to try and kill me? I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I probably would have happily jumped into that circle.
My. Keiichi-san, how rude of you to even think about leaving.
The way Sadako spoke was so typical and familiar, it almost physically hurt.
Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day, I wonder? And we were going to win big together.
I liked how the first person to worry about him is Sadako.
Yeah.
It's always Sadako.
The little gremlin who's constantly setting traps for him and getting into fights with him. And the moment he isn't fighting back, she's just like, are you okay?
Are you okay?
Oh no, you're not okay, are you?
she really is attached to him. It's
just the only way she knows how to show it is by scuffling.
Yeah, exactly. It's genuinely adorable. Like they were playing around with it, but it's like, yeah, he's got big brother energy. She's got it's seeing Rena's expression, which she said was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi. Maybe Oishi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Slap. Trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking. I slapped myself in the face.
Keiichi-kun?
Yeah. Was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it was actually one or not. I just wanted someone to say that it was. Yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive?
Are you all right? Does your head hurt?
Apparently that's how my inner dilemma appeared to Rena.
You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder.
No, it's okay. I'm sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily.
Since Kei-chan was so bent on a revenge match, we were even going to play that deduction game from before, too.
Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic!
I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head.
Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate.
It was Rika-chan. She stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Little Rika-chan, who has done nothing wrong. I'm sorry, everyone. I'll see you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in my state of mind. I took up my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Forward. Hard in that heart, Keiichi Maebara. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move, but I couldn't hate them, because aren't they my friends? Partly lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting over it in the first place. It felt like my consciousness was being ripped out of my body. If this is what Oyashiro-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believed in it now. Completely. Your curse does exist. So, seriously, just give me a break. I beg you. Come on. Dinner was unusually bland as well. It had no flavor, no aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Yeah, see, that's what depression will do to you. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he just reached a good point to take a break, or that he was in a slump.
So, yeah, he just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business...
I wasn't able to pick up much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought processes I had been going all day long. Good, because getting trapped in thought loops is definitely a healthy state of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm convinced right now that a non-trivial part of what's going on here and why it's being filtered this way is Keiichi-san himself being deeply unwell.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I don't think that you can read what he's describing and think of him as a dispassionate narrator of events.
Mm-hmm.
His own well-being and state of mind is definitely coloring what he is reporting to us through narration, and I don't think we can just take everything at face value. Not to say that I think things are been invented or anything, just that I definitely think that his version of things is when you get like this, you're always going to see the worst version possible, right? There's a big conspiracy and your friends want to kill you. They don't want you around anymore because you learned too much about their past. That's not a sign that you're healthy and well.
How much do you think he's inventing versus how much do you think is going on? Because there's
I don't know. Again, this is still, we haven't even finished chapter 1, so watch this get thrown in my face.
Did the murders happen?
Huh?
Did the murders happen?
I think so. Yeah. I definitely think the murders happened. And I think, unfortunately for Keiichi, the murders and possibly what has happened with these in the past of these girls has provided an unfortunate real-world grounding for these delusions to take hold.
You
know what I mean? It's an unfortunate thing where, yeah, something fucked up terrible probably really happened with these girls in the past. It may be the case that they killed people in order to make themselves safe from abuse. That doesn't translate into they want Keiichi dead. They clearly care about him, and they're a good, he's their friend, and they keep getting worried about him and trying to check up on him.
Not only did they bring him mochi, they made sure he kept his iron up with an iron supplement.
One that conveniently disappeared the next day. Yeah.
Maybe his parents are in on it.
I I don't think that his parents are in on it, but I fully believe that his home life is not great. It seems like he has an okay relationship with his mom, but he really doesn't like to be around when his dad is around. I would absolutely believe that Keiichi might have been the victim of abuse at some point. But, yeah. Anyway. Friends close to me. Oh, they used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted, people I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something that I didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring in the currently hopeless situation I was in. I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents who were still talking about work. Yeah, it's notable that he doesn't even think of his parents as allies. First course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa I could trust 100%. Meant the only people I could trust were my parents, but if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Rena, for example, that neighborly Rena who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she made. How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained it, it would probably be difficult for anyone to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mother would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye.
Which would probably be the right thing to do in a situation like this, huh?
It probably would be, and it's telling that that's what he assumes would be their first reaction. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Okay, so that's pretty black and white. Like, Keiichi doesn't trust his relationship with his folks to tell them, like, what's going on with him. And he's clearly got reasons to feel that way. That doesn't mean that doesn't necessarily mean that something happened in the past, but it definitely, either way, it's definitely the case that he doesn't feel his parents are a support network for him. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in the past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. The entire Maebara family to have an accident or to just vanish into thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be a safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede it was not completely safe. It was only safer than the outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting them involved. The only person who could really be my ally would be Oishi-san. Him and him alone. Always a great state of mind when the only person I can trust is the cop. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case.
Pretty weird that he's not suspicious of a dude who he admittedly knows doesn't give a shit about his safety.
I was gonna say,
why not suspect Oishi?
Right, you're not questioning his motives? Again, if you're gonna be paranoid, do your diligence.
Like, you're already convinced the dude is using you as bait and doesn't care if you live or die. You said that much earlier in the chapter, so
you know what? I guess there is
him?
a certain clarity in thinking that he doesn't care about me, but I know what his motives are, and I know what I can measure his actions against. If Keiichi believes that, his motivation is he wants to solve this case, he is willing to use me as a bait to do that, there is some comfort in understanding that's the nature of the relationship there.
True.
There are no surprises. He will do things if he thinks it will solve the case, but if it isn't going to solve the case or anything about it, then he's not going to get himself in trouble. He can use that information to judge, right? So I get it. I don't totally disagree with what he's thinking there. It was a bit frustrating. Oishi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess, and now to get out of it, I had to rely on him, meaning it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing while bobbing in the waves as bait. And then when the fish started gathering around, Oishi-san would pull up the big haul. was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But it wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. When they struck, I needed to somehow dodge just enough and tag out to Oishi-san. No question it was going to be hard. The timing to bring in Oishi-san would be difficult. He was in the city, not in Hinamizawa. So if I phoned him in my moment of need, it'd take him about 30 minutes to reach me. I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point for dire situations or something, I just have to hide out there until he arrived. Alright, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by boogeymen, but now I knew which way to go. I would never have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, but probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Great! Great! Typically a great way to avoid suspicion is to carry a concealed weapon on you.
Yeah.
Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. Also, since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that also wasn't good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon like a bat would work in my favor. Oh, really? We're going Sone Miyuki route. All right. All right. Yeah, I'm down with this. I remembered there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident that when push came to shove, if I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon might be enough to deter them. And one more thing. Insurance. Could be something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanished, the journal would be left behind. With my journal in his possession, he should be able to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should write down only the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Keiichi Maebara, am in fear for my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be the type of situation where I'd write it down myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Rena and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof, and that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage draped in mystery. Yeah, at least he's got the clarity to be like, I only have evidence that I fear for my life.
Yeah.
Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I could only pray that they would. What I prayed for the most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here, I laughed nervously. It was too simple, so I wrote down one more line I just thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oyashiro-sama's curse. Great! Helpful! Delight. You know what? You're not thinking well. You're not well right now, Keiichi. I'll go easy on you, man. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was of sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just want to screenshot this and just kind of frame it and just be like, there, that.
Yeah?
You see? You see? I don't know. Maybe I'm not as clever as I think I am. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was the chance they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was in too obscure a location, there was the risk of no one finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick my folded note on the back of it with Scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah. Didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I need to set it up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless angles until I was satisfied, and I made my way downstairs. My parents were still talking about work. Didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt, I have something I want to talk to you about. I'd never started off a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned toward me.
What is it, Keiichi?
I have a favor to ask of you. Please listen. Just in case, yeah?
If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about.
I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine. In any case, I stated my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both of my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. Well, of course they would! If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they'd probably find it.
Hey, so I've been really quiet for the past couple of days, and by the way, if I die, please do this kind of bonkers thing for me. Just in case, you know?
What do you think is going to happen from this, Keiichi? No, again, I keep being mean to him. He's not well. He's not in a good state of mind. I can't rag on him too much. Keiichi, my dude, just take a breather.
Head back to the clinic, see if they've got psychiatric referrals.
Head back. I think part of the problem is that he doesn't have an adult he feels like he can trust, right?
Yeah, the only one that he feels like he can trust, he also feels he absolutely cannot.
He can only trust Oishi-san as far as to be involved. Right. He doesn't
not only
have
an
someone
adult he can trust.
Huh?
Nobody. Not only not
he
an
has
adult.
no one he feels he can trust. Not even his friend. Like, even talking to his friends about this would probably help him.
Yeah.
Right? But he feels he can't even do that. He feels isolated and alone, and he's making increasingly rash decisions. Keiichi. I want to give him a hug. Dude needs a cool down. He needs someone to talk to in a place where he can feel safe for a while. If they did that, then they'd probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in shop class, and I really like it. So, please. They think you're going to commit suicide now. That's what they think, Keiichi.
What's the matter? Keiichi, did something happen?
Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this was a normal response for when someone's son suddenly talked about a subject like this. Felt bad about making them worry, but right now I just wanted to think about the clock in my room. The awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to get to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. This is a healthy conversation we've just had. Saying only that, I left the living room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight that had begun was mine and mine alone, and I couldn't rely on anyone. I wouldn't be killed, not when I still knew nothing. Good God! Keiichi! I feel like we should just have flashing text in the corner of this that just said, Ryu Kishi used to be a social worker. Did you know that? You received new tips, not feeling so hot. All right, we'll read that tip and then we'll call this a sode. How about?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Oh, it's a pretty long sode. That's fine. Y'all like these ones anyway. You fucking tips freaks. Not feeling so hot.
Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood. I wonder. Maybe he's on his period. Mi-chan, that's gross. What do you think? Don't know. Could be that Kei-chan... Maybe? I don't know. That day, Kei-chan was in that car talking to some tubby, middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake. That Oishi, he probably fed him something fishy. He was so serious. Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oyoshiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is demoned away. No lie. Oh, is that so? The year before last, when Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she was visited by Oishi. Now that you mentioned it, it happened before Satoshi-kun transferred out. Transferred? You're so sweet, Rena. So this time he's appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun is going to be demoned away too.
An empty silence hung in the air, and then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter. Oh, this is good. This is also like not the direction I thought it was gonna turn, but as soon as we keep talking about it, I'm like, oh, this is just more and more tragic. Oh wait, why did I hit continue?
Yeah, why did you?
Shit. Y'all can't see this. It's not. Stop cheating. You're cheating. Stop. We'll see you all next time, everyone.
Peace, y'all.
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.
Heads up, these will be some full game spoilers for Umineko, so if you haven't already read it yourself or watched our Let's Play, now's your chance to close out the video.
If not that, then what else? What other word goes there?
We've seen Ryukishi censor out a 4-letter word before in Umineko.
Did we? I genuinely don't remember.
We did.
You can go ahead and tell me, and I'll move this to the end of the episode.
There was one part, some of the first times that love was coming up in Umineko. It was starred out.
The first time's love. I do not remember that at all, actually. Thank you for reminding me of that.
So it's not an alien technique to...
Yeah, it's something that RO7 will use again.
Yeah.
Okay. So the again, that ambiguity between love and kill.
Or maybe it's Keiichi doesn't want to admit to himself that he thinks
that they killed,
so he's thinking it but not able to express it, or
perhaps
something's ambiguous.
I don't know. They seem to be pretty down with him, but I guess if someone else was coming from out of town and poking their nose into this, and it's convenient for the girls to have the fiction of the Oyashiro-sama's curse up, right? Then that would give them a reason to want to defend themselves, but now they're not defending themselves against people who have attacked them. It's just someone who's trying to bring the truth to light. Interesting. Are we able to view what he's showing us as exactly what's happening?
Would Ryukishi do that to you?
I have no idea. Of course not. Well, I mean, can we do another spoiler section for Umineko at the end?
Absolutely.
So, okay, this is going to go at the end. The thing with Umineko, right, was that the magic scenes were still depicting a certain kind of truth.
Indeed.
A certain truth that a bunch of people could get together and believe, and therefore it would become the truth. This, I don't think that's what's happening with this. Like, if it is the case that Keiichi is what he's seeing is not the literal truth, then we have to ask why that is, and what it's meant to be showing us. Because even in the scenes in Umineko where it isn't the truth, right, it's still stuff that has importance to it. There's still a reason we're being shown it. There is, don't neglect the heart and all that.
Yep.
So there is a reason Keiichi is seeing these things and feeling this way. I wonder if Keiichi's home life is even worse than we're letting on. Like, is his dad, his mom seems pretty passive about it, but he doesn't really talk about his dad that much. Is his dad abusive to him as well? Like, is that something that he's having trouble dealing with, and because of his own mental state, he's developed a sense of paranoia that's leading into reading into too deeply to what his friends are asking about him? He's made a bunch of friends, and they're genuinely concerned about him, and all he can see is people trying to get out to get him. The police chief knew to... not police chief. Oishi-san knew to come to him before anything else. But it's weird that he already knew about the new people in town, was keeping tabs on him. I I genuinely wonder if part of this is going to be Keiichi's own state of being.
It's worth thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. End of that.